more of a
I've had beards at various times.
We're ready to go. Let me call the Berkeley City Planning Commission to order for its regular meeting of Tuesday, March the 28th, 2017. Would you all please rise for the pledge? I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Could I have a roll call, please?
Martin Smith.
Here.
Murad.
Here.
Richardson.
Here.
Dean Smith.
Here.
Shadle.
Here.
Pop.
Here.
Buckler.
Here.
Tangari.
Here.
Barnett.
Present.
That's awesome.
Now entertain a motion to approve the agenda.
So moved.
Moved by Commissioner Tangari, seconded by
Second.
Commissioner Shadle. Is there any discussion on the agenda? Hearing none, we'll have a roll call, please.
Shadle.
Yes.
Martin Smith.
Yes.
Buckler.
Yes.
Pop.
Yes.
Dean Smith.
Yes.
Murad.
Yes.
Richardson.
Yes.
Tangari.
Yes.
Barnett.
Yes. Now entertain a motion to approve the minutes of the February 28th, 2017 meeting.
So moved.
Moved by Commissioner Murad. Is there a second?
Support.
Supported by Commissioner Dean Smith. Any discussion on the minutes of February the 28th? Hearing none, we'll take a roll call, please.
Buckler.
Yes.
Shadle.
Yes.
Dean Smith.
Yes.
Martin Smith.
Yes.
Tangari.
Yes.
Murad.
Yes.
Richardson.
Yes.
Pop.
Yes.
Barnett.
Yes. Now entertain a motion to approve the minutes of the March 14th, 2017 work session.
So moved.
Moved by Commissioner.
Second.
Moved by Commissioner Richardson, second by Commissioner Pop. Any discussion on those minutes? Hearing none, we'll take a roll call vote.
Tangari.
Yes.
Dean Smith.
Yes.
Shadle.
Yes.
Martin Smith.
Yes.
Murad.
Yes.
Richardson.
Yes.
Pop.
Yes.
Buckler.
Yes.
Barnett.
Yes. Communications.
You received one letter that I got today via email regarding the site plan approval.
Okay, at this time, I'll entertain citizens' comments. Any citizen who would care to address anything that is not on our agenda may step up to the microphone at this time and state your name and city of residence.
Good evening, Kurt Height, Berkley, Michigan. I came here to talk tonight regarding at the end of the last regular Planning Commission meeting. Commissioner Dean Smith made a couple comments that I would like to discuss for a moment. He referenced negative comments and or actions by an individual, but he could not attribute these to anyone by name or group. And these only served to sour what many would consider a pretty good meeting. It left us puzzled because these comments were not pertinent as to how or why we had arrived at the conclusion of the amendment process on February 28th. Throughout this process, there was equal effort by members of council and the citizens groups to move things forward in a positive manner and get both Planning Commission and the residents, which includes the citizens groups, to a semblance of mutual respect. Some of the other efforts would have included the petition and many of the documents created by the Berkeley residents against residential rezoning, of which none of them supported in any way the actions noted by Mr. Smith. Regardless of the intent, most of his comments were perceived to be negative because rather than speak at various times where residents would have had an opportunity to ask him to clarify his meaning, he chose to rehash things and focus more on the negative at the very end of the meeting during the closing comments. And it seemed calculated. It was uncalled for and risked turning everything back into a tit for tat that would only result in making this board look bad. If the constant reminder or intervention from the council in the recent past had not been enough, I had really hoped that all of the PC members would have at least followed the lead of the residents when we had gotten up and we spoke during the public hearing of that meeting. Rather than focus on the negative actions of specific PC members and or city staff over the previous 7 months, we chose to stand up and thank the PC and focus on the positives, hoping to build on the progress that had been made. Mr. Smith had also asked in the future if the residents would just come in and talk. That saw and made reference that a lot of it could be bypassed if we felt there was an issue. While we have seen a lot of progress recently, in the past it usually felt as if citizens' concerns would fall on deaf ears. Now at least the residents feel that we have board members trying to understand things from our viewpoint and even advocate for us, when it seems some on this board have a difference of opinion versus the residents. Some real positive have come from the issues we dealt with over the last 7 months, so let us not waste it and let's move on. The last part of what Mr. Smith had mentioned was a possibility in the future of reintroducing parts of the previous form-based code project, but in smaller pieces. A bad plan is a bad regardless of whether it comes all at once or in little pieces, and I think the residents were pretty clear on what they wanted. Concessions were made on the 2017 amendment. While not everyone was 100% happy, many would agree that it resulted in good representation of what the residents see as the vision or path for our city and its future. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Seeing no one else coming to the microphone, we'll end citizens' comments. We'll move on to item number 1 on our agenda.
Item number 1 is rezoning RZ01 2017, George and Oscar Bonat, 3320 11 Mile Road, northwest corner of 11 Mile and Tyler. Parcel ID or tax ID 2518451029, Lot 48 of the Assessor's Replat of Meadow Farm Subdivision is requesting a rezoning from 11 Mile District to Single Family Residential District R1D.
Is petitioner here this evening? You want to come up to the microphone, please? State your name and city of residence for us.
George Bonat, Livonia, Michigan.
Okay. You want to tell us exactly what you want to do here?
Well, we bought that house, and it seems like to be for, I don't know for how long, to be a rezoned to be a commercial building. And the matter of fact that zoning, I guess, at this point, it did not work because of the, I guess, the small parking lot behind the house, which it used to be house, I believe, at one point. So we ask you to rezone it to be back as a residential place to be lived in, and any business could be put in that particular place could be a, could not exist because of the very small parking lot behind the house, and the parking lot is so near to the residence, which is next door. It could be not comfortable place for any, whatever it could be. I mean, I did not think about to put anything kind of business there because it cannot be. This, I mean, and we're asking you to rezone that particular site since it is, to me, a historical place. It was built in 1901, so it's almost 117 years old house. We did the inspection, the structure, and everything else came back very good. I mean, there's nothing wrong with that place other than turn it back to be residential again.
Are you going to live in it? Who's going to live in it? Do you have any?
No, I mean,
going to lease it, rent it, or what are you planning on doing with it?
no, we're going to live in it.
You're going to live in it?
Yeah, I'm going to live in it, yeah.
You're going to live in
I
it?
mean, we're just waiting on that to improve the site, make nice outside, make it looks like those old houses like before. Nice landscaping in front of it, and as I said, you know, the parking lot behind that place cannot fit for any business. And this house inside does look like house. I mean, it has every feature to be a house again. So.
Are you planning on ripping out all of that asphalt at the back?
At this point, I guess no, because the asphalt is really in good condition, and I don't see it. But in the future, yes, we have to put a concrete to make it look nicer. But you know, the asphalt in the back, it's in very great shape. I don't see no cracks, no you know, even surfaces or anything like that. But yeah, it should be, because this is, as you said, it's asphalt and is made for
Parking. Yeah, for office parking.
For office, yes.
Yeah, I mean, here we're turning it back into residential. We're proposing to turn it back into residential.
Sure. I mean, and we should do that, yeah. Absolutely, we will do that. I was thinking to submit project maybe to put a garage behind the house where the asphalt is and make it entrance to the house. So that's going to be in the future for sure, yeah. But the asphalt had to be removed,
Okay.
yes, sure.
Other members of the Planning Commission, any questions? Mr. Richardson?
Good evening, sir. Are you George or Oscar?
I'm George. My son is Oscar, yes.
Okay, so you and your son are going to
Yeah, me and my son.
co-own the home?
We are the owner, yeah.
Okay, and if you don't mind my asking, what business are you engaged in?
I'm next door, Matrix Motors. We sell cars next door to that.
Oh, okay. Have you been in front of us before? If you have, I
Sure, yes.
apologize.
Sure, yeah. Sure, I was.
Okay, all
I was here.
right, all right.
Been here before.
I
Okay.
was here before.
Are you currently residing there?
No,
Okay.
we just bought it and we're just waiting until, there's nothing in there at this point.
How long was it, how long have you owned it?
We bought it almost 2 months ago.
Okay.
And I had to come and wait in front of commission to come in.
Do you happen to know, but you own it, you're not on a, like, under any?
owns it. He owns
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
Do you know how long it was used as an office?
You know what? I'm not sure. I think it was used for 5 or 6 years. That's what the previous.
Well, there's
Longer
a
than that.
suggestion in the report that it might date back to 1994, which would be over 20 years.
He said he used it for the last 6 years and he it's been vacant for
Okay.
I guess last 3 years.
Well, here's what I'm driving at. It was used for a commercial purpose for apparently a long time, and now we're hearing that it's not suitable for that purpose. The property is even modified to serve that purpose. So it's a question in my mind whether it could be used commercially or not.
Well, everything could be used, but here's the question. The parking lot and the density, any business you would open, it could be hair salon, it could be anything you can open or anything, is going to be a lot of people coming in and out to that neighbor next door. And it's going to create some problem at one point. I would love to use it as that, but I would not love to see that house going down. It's an historical, nice, really good foundation house. And it could stand there. I mean, I don't see no problem to have it to be residential anymore. I understand your opinion, but what I'm saying is, for a business-wise, that use, I don't think that's, because a lot of people tried to do the same, tried to open any business there, and they couldn't because it cannot be used. The guy was there, he left it because he couldn't, because he had a lot of people coming and going, and then he went to bigger parking lot.
Well, it's just that if it was used for business purpose for a long, long time, that kind of suggests that somebody can make a go of it there. I don't know. But just one other comment. The reason I asked you about your occupation is because it occurred to me that even though it's not allowed now, that property might be suitable for some kind of home-based business with a small retail aspect to it. Person lives upstairs, has business downstairs. I envisioned that sort of arrangement when I was reviewing the notes.
Sure.
But that's not going to be your arrangement, correct?
No, we are talking about residential 100%.
Okay.
I mean, we're not talking about business. I have my business next door, more than enough. Thank you. No, we don't need more space.
No,
for
I
business.
understand.
Yeah, no. It is going to be, if it will be approved by you guys, to be a residential back again. Should be a house.
Okay, I don't have anything further right now.
Any other comments?
Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Martin Smith.
This is kind of an oddball. We're going backwards. And I'm not that that's a bad thing, but, I mean, we had this once before us several years ago near Hartfield Lanes, where something with zone parking, someone came and asked it to be residential. And you know what? I don't know. Did they build a house on that?
Yes.
Yeah, they did.
I think I would have noticed that.
They did.
So it's kind of a backwards one. It's interesting. We allow a lot of things in the 11-mile district except residential. Now, I guess I don't have a problem with it. It brings up some technical things. Does someone have to build a wall between this house and the commercial property next door?
No, there's no construction going on, so.
Okay.
That's, with
But
the
you-
case of the other one that you were talking about near Hartfield Lanes, the
Yeah, they
residents
did have to build a
yep,
wall.
They
There were-
did,
yeah.
because there was construction occurring, but this is all
But it
existing
was the
conditions.
same owner, wasn't that? in
No.
that case? Wasn't it owned by Hartfields?
Yeah,
No.
it was.
It
owned by
wasn't,
Hartfield.
Yeah.
someone else bought it.
So, okay.
No, north of it is owned by
It's a
Hartfield.
family.
Right, yeah.
Yeah. I have to ask this question.
Sure.
You're not going to fill up the parking lot with cars, are you?
No, it's been empty. I mean,
No, I meant once you move in.
sir, we are talking, no.
Okay?
I promise.
I have to ask the question.
No,
We talked before.
now we have a huge parking lot there. We don't need no space, no. No, it
Okay,
is not
I-
going to have no cars
Thank
there
you.
whatsoever. It's going to be my car when I drive it home, which I'm not going to be walking.
No, now you can walk. You're going to be in great shape. Like I said, this is an oddball. I don't have any problem with it.
Yeah.
If someone wants, normally zoning, you try to, the purpose behind zoning is try to protect lower intensity uses from higher intensity uses. Now, that's always an issue, and it doesn't always happen. But for someone to go the other way, it's just, I guess, I don't have an issue with it on the surface. It's a nice little home, treat it as a home. Yeah.
Mr. Chairman.
Ms. Shadow?
Just if you could clarify for us, please, again, the current parking lot or the possible future driveway. It sounded like you started off by saying, no, it's in great shape, not going to do anything with it. And then that turned into, well, we're probably going to build a garage, and yeah, we'll take it up and just have a driveway. What is your intention with the
Well, here,
current?
I mean, if the city says, well, when you turn it to residential, you have to put the concrete, we'll put concrete, no problem. I mean, but our thinking, the current asphalt is in great shape. It doesn't have cracks or, but when it comes to residential, that has to be turned to concrete, and I understand that. And we were thinking, if we get approved to be residential again, that place, so we put the garage in the back, and that has to be turned, ripped off and put concrete and everything else by, submit the project, whatever, going for, in the plans and do it.
Is that your
but-
intention to
Yeah,
build
I
a
mean,
garage?
down the road, we will do that. But if the city says, well, now if it becomes a residential site, you have to remove the asphalt and put concrete, we'll put concrete,
Well,
if this is the case.
the idea is not to tear out the asphalt and replace it with concrete. The idea is that the asphalt would come out and you would have some amount of lawn or garden space in the rear of the property.
Yeah,
That's
that could
not
be.
turning it into a parking lot. I had the same concerns that Mr. Smith brought up with the idea of, are you going to park cars in there
They're
for
not going to
overflow
park
cars?
cars.
And that was my biggest concern.
No.
If we change this to residential.
We are not going to park no cars there, other than my car or my son's car, like everybody else in the driveway. That's all the way it is. We are not going to do that, no.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody else?
Mr. Chair,
Mr. Dean Smith?
just a comment. I think in a residential area, if somebody wants to, they can pave their entire backyard.
Mine's pretty much pavement to get a garage in there. It was.
Yeah.
Yes, but to tell somebody that they need to take up
I'm not asking him to take
existing
it, yeah.
pave, okay, good.
I'm not asking him to take it up and replace with concrete. He was
Asking for
talking
attention.
about that, and I didn't want him
Right, I
to
wanted to
understand that.
make sure we weren't
No,
moving in a direction that we
No.
shouldn't
I mean-
be moving.
no.
Again, I'm sorry to interrupt. If the question is, we are going to park car there in the back of the house, that's not going to happen.
Yeah, okay.
100% guaranteed.
Okay. You're just going to park your own cars there.
My own car, my son's car, that's it.
Yep, okay.
I have a question about, under the current zoning, not the change, but the current zoning, could he park cars there?
It'd have to be screened, and I had,
Okay.
not Mr. Banat, but I had other folks say, well, it's a nice piece of land, and I was just gonna enclose the whole thing and pave it and use it as storage. And that would require planning commission approval, but again, you've got this house from 1901, and wow, what a waste, huh?
Well, yeah, I guess I'm leaning reluctantly toward yes, just to preserve the house, and also because like everywhere in Berkeley, the distances between intense uses and less intense uses is so short that having a less intense use on that corner doesn't hurt anybody.
And it's not like
And
Mr.
it preserves
Banat
the
doesn't know,
house.
right? Yeah.
somebody went, Mr.
Just
Chair?
You have to have a
question.
public hearing.
Say, if somebody wants to live on a busy road, I mean, my personal preference is that 11 Mile will stay commercial. However, I didn't realize this was, that old of a home, and if Mr. Monat can kind of restore it back to looking like, a well-maintained home, and doesn't mind living on a busy road.
Oh, no, absolutely not. I mean, it's just, the house inside looks like really in great shape. I mean, that's why, and, just taking off this house, it's a great mistake. I mean, this is a historical site, should stay and be maintained very well and just be on the street. I mean, there's no and I think it's for the neighbor next door who came to me and asked me, he said, "You're not going to do any business here." I wish. And I said, "No, we just buy it. We're going to try to talk with the city to put it back to be a house again." So,
I got a question for Amy.
Yeah.
Is this one of the oldest houses in Berkeley?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think actually Commissioner Pops might be, yours is 1900, I think? or
Yeah,
19
my house is the same year.
Okay.
1901.
Yeah.
Yeah, wow,
And
okay.
I think the one on Greenfield might be like 1903.
There's a
so
farmhouse,
yeah.
the old farmhouse on
So
Green.
this, okay, all right.
It's not on the historical register, right?
No.
You never know.
Well, I didn't research it, I don't know, but no one's made me aware of that.
Okay.
All right, we're going to have a public hearing. I'm going to open a public hearing. What I want to remind everybody here is that the Planning Commission will make a recommendation, and City Council has final say on the rezoning, and it goes to 2 readings at City Council, just for everybody's information. So let me open the public hearing. You want to have a seat for a few minutes while we go through the public hearing? Or is there any person in the public would care to comment on this?
Okay.
Okay, so no comments in the public hearing. What is the desire of the Planning Commission?
Mr. Chair?
Mr. Dean Smith.
As a general reaction, I'm in favor of allowing this building to become a residence. But I think it also gives us an opportunity to do a little bit broader of a discussion. When we were doing the 11 Mile District several years ago, we had talked about a little bit about live-work type arrangements where somebody may have a business and they choose to live, say, upstairs or in the back. And we did not go forward with that concept. We said, no, you work there and you go someplace else. I don't know if this is the right time or place to tee up the discussion, but I would like to see us recommend to City Council that we make a change to the 11 Mile District and allow residents in that area. So if somebody gets one of the large buildings and turns it into their art shop, that they can also legally live there. There's safety issues, minor safety issues, there's noise issues, but I don't think anybody would be fooled and think that they should be in a quiet environment if they're living along 11 Mile Road in an area that appears to be light industrial. So for this application before us tonight, I would support recommending changing the rezoning or changing the zoning to allow for residential. But I don't want to lose, say 5 years down the road, the current owner decides that they don't want to live there. Now they can't run a business out of the house. So we can wind up creating an environment that doesn't work in the long run unless we build some flexibility into the zoning ordinance.
At this point, we would have to come back and look at the district and amend the district.
Yes.
On its own. And
That's a
what you're
longer-term
asking.
solution, yes.
That's what you're asking about. Okay. We can look at that.
I would second.
Yeah, I
He
would
hasn't-
support
nobody
what he
made a
said as
motion
well.
No, I'm supporting what he says.
Yeah.
We need to go back and look
At
at
it? Okay.
adding
Yeah.
live
Makes
work
sense.
to
Okay.
the
But
11-mile
I think they're
district.
separate from the action tonight.
Yes.
But I want to keep in mind that
And-
whatever we do tonight, we don't
Right.
lose the direction we want to go in.
Ms. Vanson, can we put something into future plan,
Yeah.
one meeting to go back
Absolutely.
and revisit the 11-mile district, please?
Yes.
Okay? Okay, now, I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make the motion. I'll make a motion to recommend RZ 0117 be approved to city council.
For resident,
For resi- yes.
changing to residential. Is there a second to the motion?
Thanks, second.
Seconded by Commissioner Martin Smith. Any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, we'll take a roll call vote, please.
Richardson.
Yes.
Shadle.
Yes.
Martin Smith.
Yes.
Pangari.
Yes.
Buckler.
Yes.
Dean Smith.
Yes.
Pop.
Yes.
Murad.
Yes.
Barnett.
Yes. Okay, now it'll go to city council for their, now whether, I don't know what meeting it'll be on.
It'll be on the 3rd. It'll be on this coming Monday.
This coming
Same
Monday, or
room,
week
7
from-
o'clock. Yes, 7 o'clock Monday.
Okay,
Good luck.
good luck.
Good luck.
Thank you.
Good night.
Item number 2.
Item number 2 is site plan review, SP 0217 Vincetta Garage regarding 103646 Eaton, north side of Eaton between Woodward and Stanford, is requesting site plan approval for a new parking lot.
Is the petitioner here? I take it, they did the lot split. This is,
Yeah, it's in process, but yes, it's been prepared. I think it still needs to be reported at
everybody's
Oakland
happy on
County,
that
but
part.
yeah,
and it's registered and everything with the county. Okay. All right.
It's in process.
Okay. Good evening.
Good evening, Commissioners. Jim Sharrow, Keefe Engineering, and I live in the village of Clarkston.
Okay. Thank you.
This action is a result of the collaboration agreement between the City of Berkeley, Vincetta Garage, and Lugal Properties regarding this particular piece of property. As Amy mentioned, switching of property lines to create a parking district. Has that, and I believe that zoning has gone through? Amy, it has.
Yes.
So as a result of that, we have been employed by Union Joints to prepare a site plan for an expansion of the parking lot, which currently houses about 15 cars, a couple of which are designated as economy, to a 29-car parking space on the property, which is now underneath the ownership of Union Joints in Vincetta Garage. This plan has been prepared in accordance with your ordinances. We've taken some liberties to try to retain some of the existing parking lot. We're basically here to answer any of the questions that you may have. Amy did come up with some comments, and I answered those on her letterhead. And I don't believe it's necessary for me to go through those because I made that part of the package, so I'm sure the commissioners is aware of the questions that she raised and the answers that I put forth to them. So what we have here is a 29-car parking space, which will increase the parking for the existing restaurant, and we're asking for site plan approval, which hopefully will be attained, and then we will come forth with final engineering plans for drainage calculations, storm drainage, and those types of things.
None of that has been looked at yet.
No, they haven't submitted for
Haven't
engineering
submitted
yet.
anything
For
for,
engineering, no.
We're asking for just site plan approval for the configuration of the parking lot as designed.
Mr. Chair, I have a procedural question about that.
go ahead, yes.
May I? According to the ordinance section 138-678, it requires us to find among other things, that site engineering has been provided to ensure that existing utilities will not be adversely affected. It's not been provided, and additionally, Mr. Schuler's memorandum of March 16th indicates some serious planning work has to be done before he can sign off on it. So my procedural question is, are we allowed to approve this without the engineering work?
I think we,
Go ahead.
but no, you go ahead.
No, go ahead. No, go ahead.
Generally speaking, what the Planning Commission can do, just like with the apartment building on Greenfield, that engineering was not, had not been finished yet either. And so you are allowed to approve it, and you can make that subject to engineering. So like the apartment building on Greenfield from back last April, their engineering was not signed off on yet. It typically takes a while for HRC to sign off on it. There's a lot of things that go into it. And so I think as long as it's headed in the right direction, it is okay. If you want to postpone it, if everything else is great, and you want to postpone it pending that, I think you could certainly do that. But it's not without precedent that you approve it conditioned upon the engineer approving the plans.
Well, it seems like the wording is plain, that's why I brought it up, but I'm sure there's going to be a general discussion here on several issues, so I think we need to proceed with that and then make a decision.
If I may pose a question or a statement, one of the reasons why we didn't go through with complete final engineering is the key, obviously, we're looking for an approval of the configuration. There's obviously some flexibility. There's no sense in doing this twice.
Right.
We would prefer to do it once. So, and I understand what Amy is saying, that even if we get just a conceptual opinion that this is the way you're happy with the way it's laid out, then obviously we can proceed. But to do complete final engineering plans and then only end up having to move it didn't seem to make a great deal of sense.
Well, we could have a discussion and we could make our opinions clear. My question was a narrow one. Can we actually vote up or down tonight?
Right. It sounds as though you can, though.
All right.
Yeah, I have a few questions.
Go ahead, Mayor.
One for the applicant first.
Go ahead.
So has there been any discussion with Lugo Properties to coordinate and build one parking lot together?
There has not been, and I posed that to your planner, given the task of designing something, and she basically said, you're on your own.
Okay, all right.
Design something, and I don't see a connection between the two parking lots because of the access off of the existing alley.
Well,
And the distance between the two, unfortunately, the property that Union Joints ended up with doesn't fit configuration-wise. And, there's some open space that I have preferred, they have designed to fall at the rear of the property to buffer the two parking lots, and also to retain part of the existing parking lot the way it is right now. I don't think it's necessary to connect the two parking lots. And if you did, we'd lose parking spaces, and so would they. So,
but in this configuration, if I look at it, at the back side of the lot, you have 17 feet. So if you were working together, yes, you'd lose a couple spaces, 2 or 3 spaces here, but you could potentially gain more spaces along the whole width of it. But then again,
how do you get to them?
Well, if you were combining the parking lots, you could, they'd be, configure that back half. This would be a drive right here. I don't know, but my feeling is, looking at this, I want to see a landscaped buffer along the sidewalk. I don't want to see it at the back of the parking lot. That's the, number one, yeah, I'd like to see a combined parking lot. I understand it hasn't been discussed, but even if it was a combined parking lot, I want to see a minimum of 8 to 10 feet. Grass, planting area with some trees. There's other examples. Years ago, I was involved in the expansion of the library, where it used to be behind the library, there were a bunch of houses torn down. Those houses were torn down, they built a parking lot, but we left a big wide grass buffer off the sidewalk and a nice high wall to eliminate headlights shining into the residents' property across the street.
Well, this still does that function with the wall there that's there now and the extension of the wall that will be built.
But I myself, I can't speak for anybody else on the commission or in the audience, would like to see a higher wall and it pushed back from the sidewalk. I don't know what the ideal distance is, but
Well,
That's-
it's pretty obvious that that's a considerable more expense because we lose part of the parking lot that's already there.
I understand that. I do understand that.
I mean, it would be foolish to design it any other way, taking into account, accounting and the configuration and how the whole thing works. And if you
Right.
took the whole parking lot and slid it 10 feet north, you wouldn't gain any parking spaces.
I understand that.
So my effort was to retain what was there to the greatest extent possible.
Ms. Buckler?
Yeah, okay, so I am an engineer, civil engineer, licensed civil engineer as well. And so I look at this and I think this is, number one, your statement that there's been no discussion of co-designing a joint parking lot. I'm sorry, I just find that ridiculous after this amount of time. I realize that there was a lot split. Everybody, they each came away with their pieces, but not to have any discussion at this point in time of, hey, could we jointly design something together that A, is aesthetically pleasing, and B, maximizes parking for both parties involved? I find that
my question to you.
I understand, but I understand, but it's a ridiculous statement to have made, and it's not Amy's job to have co-design two parking lots. This is now privately owned property, so it is not the city's job to design or redesign these, number one. Number two, this buffer is a complete waste of space and I don't know who's going to enjoy this buffer except the people parking against it. Everybody here, number one, has a low wall. 30 inches is completely inadequate. If you've ever seen a Ram pickup truck or a giant Ford pickup truck, those headlights sit right about here on me. So that's higher than 30 inches. I'm not that tall. I'm tall, but I'm short, but I'm not that short. And secondly, if they're already short parking and need a cooperative parking agreement anyways, so the idea that they have to maximize here, this is a moot point. If they're one parking space short, or if they're 9 or 12 parking spaces short, this parking lot should be laid out to be more aesthetically pleasing with a bigger green buffer along where the residents and people coming along the street can see it. And I'm not so worried about the engineering side, Mark, that you brought up, because that can be ameliorated and addressed, the stormwater, that, even with crappy soils, that can all be addressed and made fine. So I'm not worried about that, but the design is laid out, I think, is just a complete poor use of the space and a poor use of the amount of time that went in to them consolidating this into one. Time as a board.
Are you familiar with the agreement between the
Yes.
two people? It says it has been said it shall, as soon as reasonably possible, after the land division, reconfigurate and rezoning are approved, file for site plan approval for its parking and related improvements. After receiving site plan approval from the city, Vincetta will obtain the necessary permits and commence and diligently proceed cooperatively with or separate from Lugo to construct parking and related improvements on the respective portions of the reconfigured Eaton parcels in accordance with the approved site plans. It is anticipated that Lugo will proceed to develop and construct a parking lot on its parcel at a later date as determined by Lugo. All construction shall be done in accordance with applicable city codes. Vincetta and Lugo may construct and use their parking areas on a shared use agreement or separately as they may mutually agree.
Yes.
And Eric Lyons here with Vincetta Garage. There have been discussions with Lugo, and Lugo has said no, they have no reason or they have no intentions of building a parking lot at this time. So there has been discussions.
Okay.
But the discussions is
So-
one question and one answer.
Okay, so the original statement was that there's been no, cooperation. So there has been discussions, fine. And they wouldn't have to build their portion. You can still put some kind of buffer strip in between, but it would accommodate a future expansion of it. There's ways to have designed this that would have allowed for something like that. I'm not happy with what I see right now. Just leaving it at that.
Anyone else? Mr. Tangari?
I'm going to just focus my comments on the layout, on the kind of picking up on what my colleagues here have said about the buffer being at the south edge of the property. Commissioner Buckler is right that this buffer really just buffers the parking lot from more future parking lot. And, you know, this was, I mean, I appreciate that your firm has been asked to design this after all the rezoning process has gone in, and you weren't here for the whole discussion of the rezoning, but there was a lot of agony in that discussion over bringing this parking lot into this neighborhood. And these neighbors really want, and I think deserve, as much buffering as they can get from this parking lot. And to me, these spruce trees, when combined with these canopy trees that are along the that are in the planting strip between the sidewalk and the street, they make a nice understory for the canopy trees, and they bolster all of the screening. You really get a nice screen at the south end of the property if that planting strip is at the south end of the property. I understand you may lose a parking space or two, but I mean, we're a long way into this restaurant operating with suboptimal parking amounts, and we've gotten by to this point. So my general feeling is the most logical and sensitive way to lay this out is with as much of that buffer to the south as possible.
And I appreciate that, but you have to understand, most engineers look at things from an economical standpoint, and it made some sense since there already was a parking lot there. You know, I understand your circumstances. I mean, I'm sort of getting the feeling we move it 10 feet north and we're okay.
Other comments?
Mr. Chair?
Mr. Dean Smith?
If I were designing a parking lot and trying to minimize my costs, I too would try to keep what was there. But this is a long discussion that
I understand, and I
predates
appreciate
you.
this gentleman's comment that I'm late to the party.
As I look at this, just the questions to you are, you know, one, moving the green belt towards Eaton, putting it along the sidewalk, certainly would make it more visually appealing.
I couldn't
And
agree.
it would
Couldn't agree more.
cause me to have a little more respect for that portion of the design. The wall that you, and this will be a discussion we have too among the planning commissioners. The original drop-in panels, they were intended to be a temporary wall while the issues were worked out between the two property owners. So it's my expectation that there would be a permanent, taller and more visually appealing.
Well, if
wall
we're
that
going
would
to
go up.
move it, we obviously can rebuild it.
Yes, and that opens up a lot of things. Assuming that you were to get a go-ahead tonight, and that might be a wild assumption, but just to set a clock, what would be your expected construction time? You know, we also had an issue with the prior parking lot. I left the country for a year and came back, and it was the same. So is there an estimate on start to finish construction?
6 months, once we get approval, or once we get approval, 6 months?
You have to understand, there's quite a bit of demolition that has to take place. Many houses.
I fully understand the
Right.
process.
There's houses, there's...
I'm looking for, you've got a community that we answer to. And if you have this open-ended process that could take 2, 3, 4, 5, 8 years, again, being
From
extreme.
my standpoint, so to interrupt, but from Vincetta Garage, we want to get this done also.
Oh, I understand. I'm looking for a number that we can put out to the community. It's like I got to take this to my boss, and, let's have some things we can work with here. The question's been answered, I think. The Lugo properties, and two, this is a comment for all of us. We cannot require
No, we can't.
new property owners to share or play nice.
Understood.
They're not playing
And
nice, so
we can express displeasure, but, I don't want my neighbor parking in my yard.
The issue is before us is the
Yes.
plot of land we have.
So we're not
and we're
going
gonna
to
work on that.
discuss Lugo
Lugo.
properties.
No.
So based on that, I would want to take the green belt, move it along the curb, do something with the landscaping and the wall to make it, much more visually appealing. But the real questions are, you've got entrance and exit into the alleyway.
Correct.
Right now, that's more or less a dead-end alley. You've got the cell phone
I
lot.
also understand that's going to be vacated,
Not your portion.
and
Well, but this
going
is,
to the Lugo property.
we need to cover,
That's a whole different scenario.
you
We
have
ingress
cars
and egress-
coming in and out of this alley onto Eaton and then onto Woodward.
Correct.
They do now.
Describe the traffic flow. Well, right now, it's walled off. There's people aren't supposed to park there. It's the employee parking lot.
Drive in there and drive out. I just did it on my way over here tonight.
With cars coming and going,
Well, there wasn't anybody there when I was there. And there's only going to be one
All
driveway
right,
before.
I
and
would
that-
like to
The original
see-
plan had two.
a little better description of how vehicles are going to move in and out of the lot. You've got a fairly narrow alleyway there. There's behind the tattoo shop, there's a bunch of trash cans that might get run over. I'm curious as to how people would navigate that lot.
Well, it's a 20-foot wide public alley,
I was
could-
able to read the diagram.
and, well,
I mean, isn't it the same way and the same entrance that they're getting in and out of there now?
Yes.
You'll have much less traffic volume. As far as I can tell, that lot is either the valet or it's your employee parking lot during the day. With patrons coming and going, you're going to have much more activity in and out of your parking lot. And I have a difficult time visualizing the traffic flow. So I want to get a little more comfortable with that.
Why don't we ask the first question, is it going to remain all valet parking, or is it going to be public parking for the restaurant? Let's answer that question.
I mean, the signs on it now say Vincetta Garage parking only. So if patrons go in there, they're allowed to go in there.
I park in there.
If valet is using it and valet sees patrons go in there, they'll take their keys from them and say, we'll give you your car back later on. So I guess I don't understand.
What does the sign say?
Vincetta Garage parking only. There's a sign there that says Vincetta Garage parking.
I guess the question remains, is it going to be valet parking, or is it going to be public parking? I think we need to resolve that issue, because I think that's important, because that's going to tell you how much traffic's going in and out of there.
Define public parking. Public Vincetta.
If I drive up to your restaurant, and I drive in and park my car and walk to your restaurant, can I do that?
Yeah.
I do that now.
Without
I park there every time I go there.
I was gonna say, there's people
I don't
that
care.
go to the Conroe place next to us and use that parking lot.
Okay.
At the cellular stores, their employees use that parking lot now. So I don't know if that makes your question worse than what it was before, but.
I'm just trying to, because he's got an issue here about traffic in and out, although I don't think it's going to be steady traffic going in and out. It's going to be this and that on occasion. It's not going to be a steady stream of traffic. It isn't like at 5 o'clock, everybody's leaving to go to work or coming in, it's not going to be that.
People are coming and going at various times.
Yep.
I do understand that. In fact, I ride my bicycle through that alleyway 4, 5, 6 times a week. So I understand the traffic flow. I just want to make sure that we as a group understand.
Yeah.
I had one other thing on here. This is for us. I have this thought you've got two properties, and because they're both zoned parking, we're not going to require any kind of a wall in between the two parking, because the Lugo properties, they could turn that into a little green belt and a picnic area for their staff. And there will not be a wall between the Vincetta Garage parking lot and Lugo properties.
That's correct.
Okay, good.
Okay,
I'm done.
all right. I have a couple questions.
Mr. Chairman?
Okay, go ahead.
I also agree that I'd rather see the berm, or at least a portion of it, not the berm, I'm sorry, the
Green.
lawn area, or a portion of it with its trees in, towards the sidewalk as a buffer. Now, Amy, if they build a berm, that's where the word berm came from, if they build a berm, we have an option in lieu of a wall,
Yeah.
a berm if it's tall enough, or
Steep.
if it's,
Awfully steep.
Be awfully
well, it
steep.
is in 17 feet, 18 feet, up and down, it is going to be awfully steep, and it may not be applicable here, I'm just throwing the idea out.
Yeah, you can wait.
Or a smaller, a shorter wall, or something like that. There are other options, but we may not have the horizontal space for it. So, just looking for ways to reduce wall, because the wall that's there now, the H sections and the precast panels, is not going to be acceptable. Okay, again, as it's already been described, that was installed as a temporary fix, so to speak, to be removed. So we'll be looking for a masonry wall. So I'm just looking for possibilities, but I don't think we have it, have the acreage there to get up and back down again. So all the other questions have been pretty much answered. God, if we put a berm, or I guess I keep saying berm because I have it written across here. If we put the landscaping across the front, there's a real opportunity for 6 parallel parking spaces here. But that involves a lot more work on the side of the road. And just thinking out of the box. That's a lot more expense than everything else, so just throwing that out. Trading paving for paving, I did a couple of squares, yellow versus green. If you squint, it's not that much of a difference what you're cutting out and saving as opposed to what you're going to be cutting out anyway. It's a few feet here and there, but it's not that big of a difference.
Probably going to lose a couple of spaces by.
You're going to lose a
moving it
space, probably, yeah. And maybe put the bikes up towards the front instead of the back. That may help. It's just a matter of configuration.
north. We can soften that radius out on the alley, which will help that ingress and egress there.
Absolutely.
absolutely.
That's another item, right.
Yep.
Photometrics, it's a weird photometrics. I meant to call the engineer and I forgot. Mr. Sassine. On the west side of the property, by the SA in the north and the SB fixture to the south, you got some very high foot candles. Excuse me.
Right at the wall.
Got some fairly high foot candles that magically disappear at the property line. Now, I imagine these fixtures are well shielded, and it probably takes into account the 6-foot wall. But that's an incredible drop-off, and we rarely see that. I just want to make sure that
That's a lot.
your electrical engineer checks.
Well, we have
Checks the
to,
work.
we have to rely on him in this particular case, because I
And I
don't
know
know
them.
from lumens.
They do a good job. I know them. So it's just we rarely see it drop off that quickly. And it may have to do with the height of the wall, being a
it could
6-foot
very
wall
well.
there. Yeah.
As
How
it hits-
tall are the? How
That's
tall are
what I
these?
was going to ask, yeah.
Yeah,
how
it's
tall are
probably
the
has to do with the
mounting?
wall.
What's the mounting height?
Oh, the height of the poles.
Mounting
Yeah,
height
how
of
do
the
the
pole,
standards?
yeah.
How high are the standards?
Yeah, it's
It
not-
doesn't. I couldn't find it anywhere. I dug all over.
nobody
the
don't
drawing
see it
board.
anywhere.
I didn't see it either.
It could be on that,
I looked at the cut sheet too. I didn't
it's
see
not
it.
on a cut sheet?
No, we couldn't find it. I can't find it either.
The one or two that are out there aren't that tall. And you're reusing those. Looks like they're staying, well, in this scheme, they're staying in place, but you could reuse parts of them. They're not that tall, so I guess I don't find it,
8 feet, 4 inches. No, that's 8 feet, no, 8 1/4. Well, no, that's the head.
Yeah,
Pretty short.
yeah. So, anyway, get that on the drawings,
Yeah,
please.
I see that.
Yeah. And what and also what the height of the existing two standards are, which I believe are the SC units. It doesn't say anything here, so I'm assuming you're matching those, but just get something on the drawing when you submit for the construction documents, whatever they are, or the engineering documents. The other questions have pretty much been answered. I don't know if we fully discussed the wall construction, but in my opinion, what's out there now, or another version of what's out there now, is not going to be acceptable.
We understand that.
Okay?
Can I just
Mr. Richardson?
Just to follow up on the question about the bike rack. I assume that you're providing 12 spaces on the assumption that the garage, that your business will be able to use 12 spaces, correct? You're not providing a community bike rack or anything like that. Is that right?
As I said, as big a bike rack as we can put on this piece of property, let's put a big bike rack on it.
Okay.
Staff loves to bicycle in, and obviously the neighborhood
Yeah,
wants to bicycle in. The bigger the bike rack, the better.
I would think if we push back the south boundary of the lot, like we're talking about, there'd be more room for putting the bike rack on Eaton, which would be more proximate to the restaurant itself. Would you be okay with that?
Again, if we move this to the south end and we can put a bigger bike rack on it, we'll do that.
Okay.
And what we commissioned Jim to do was obviously give us as much parking as we could. That's what we wanted to do with this, and obviously we'll amend that as we need to.
Yeah, it'd be more visible there.
Yeah, that's fine.
That's important.
Mr. Tangari?
I had a question about barrier-free parking, because obviously there's none in this lot, and I just wanted to make sure that between this lot and the parking that you've got near the restaurant, that you're meeting your requirement for barrier-free parking.
My feeling would be that there is a parking lot immediately adjacent to the building.
Right, yeah.
That's where the barrier-free should be. I mean, if you're going to take somebody in a wheelchair and
Oh,
put 'em
sure,
here and
they
have
should
them
be
truck
near the
across
restaurant.
road,
Saying the
Yeah.
calculation.
I just want to make sure the
That'd be a
calc is
strange design,
correct.
in my opinion.
Yeah, I just want to make sure the calc is correct when you total them up.
Because the only entrance is off the.
So, just,
Yeah.
I mean, we gotta have the right number of spaces, but yeah, you're right, they should be near the restaurant, but I just want to make sure the right number is there.
And we're not necessarily dealing with parking calculation as to how many, based on, seating or something
well,
of that
sure,
nature.
yeah.
We're just kind of looking for as many as we can get.
Right.
I have a couple questions for you.
Yes, sir.
You called for Marshall green ash trees out in front. I don't know that the city allows any ash trees anymore in the city.
I did check with Mr. Schuler regarding that, and any trees that are planted in the right-of-way, the city's going to dictate what they are, so
Okay.
don't be married to Marshall Green Ash.
Okay,
It's up to the
because
city.
I had an
because
ash tree and we had to take it down. So.
Right, I don't think they all have to go, but
Yeah.
again, it's up to the DPW and I think I indicated that in my report, that
Yeah,
they would be the ones that
yeah,
would
I
be
saw
planting the
that.
trees.
And I was just bringing up the ash issue because I know we had issues with the ash borer,
Yes.
and I lost a tree to it. Serbian spruce trees at the back.
Well, they won't be there
Yep.
after I move the parking lot back,
They're gonna
so
come
let's not
front.
worry about that.
All right.
Will they move forward?
Maybe we'll put them in front.
Yeah, okay.
We do want that.
Serbian spruce, I take it, are they native Michigan trees? Will they function well here? Because there's a big issue about Colorado blue spruce in Michigan now. And that they don't do well here because of the soil conditions for Michigan and the weather and what have you.
Geez, a couple in
And-
my yard seem to be doing just.
Yeah, well, I got 3 of them in my yard, and they're doing great too, but
Yeah.
it just came up.
Serbian ash, from what I've been able to
Serbian
understand,
spruce.
is an allowable
Okay.
alternative to a Colorado,
Okay,
and it's acceptable.
I'm not familiar with it at all, so because I need to put a new tree out in front, and I'm looking for something. Haven't got there yet. But anyway, okay, those were my 2 questions that I had, and I agree that we need to move that.
This is unacceptable.
We need a little more green space at the front. Given that we've intruded into the neighborhood, and
I understand.
this is an issue that we need to help the neighborhood maintain some green space in the
Well, the
front.
decision that has to be made now is obviously we're going to be moving this entire parking lot to the north, I don't know, 8, 10, whatever, feet. The question now becomes whether we're comfortable with what we redesign, that we take it to the next level and provide all the engineering at this stage. And that's a decision that the owners are going to have to make at this stage of the game. Or we come back to you with another drawing that's similar to this, only move north and say, like this better?
Well, that's the issue that we've got to talk about now. Do we want you to come back here with, and I think the answer is yes, we want to see it again before you go.
Before we go with engineering?
Yep.
Okay.
I could even
live with that.
suggest, we also can, like, this, normally we don't have work sessions, but we can. It's on the calendar, the second Tuesday of the month. It's more informal. You could come, show us what you want. If everything's good, then you just come back the next planning commission meeting, and submit it to us. If there's changes, if you have the time to
As they
get.
come back the next time with final, it might take a little while
Yeah.
longer than that. but-
Right, but if, sometime, like this would have been a perfect plan to come to us in a work session, and we could have sent you back and said, you do this, this, this,
Right.
and then you could be doing your plan and looking at your engineering at the same time. So,
I think
might be
we've,
something to consider.
I think we've given you direction.
You have?
Will you send them a letter with all our comments on it, or do we need to make a formal request to it that we?
Well, I mean, they'll have the minutes, so.
Okay.
And they have my letter from before.
Okay, I have one other.
Yeah, we're not,
We want to bring this back.
Yeah, so we'll just
Do you want to hear public
postpone
comments?
it.
We'll postpone it.
So we need a motion to postpone?
Yeah, I can make the motion if you
Is
like.
there any, yeah, let me take a couple minutes before we do anything here. And I'm sure there are some folks out here in the audience that might want to make a comment or two.
Mr. Chair, I have one other.
So,
Put it on the list.
let me get the public comment, and then we'll get to it. Is there anyone out here who would care to comment on what we're doing and where we're going, or ideas?
Hi, I would love to. My name's Rob Robinette, 1021 Oxford. It's been almost a year, and we get to finally talk about look and design of this thing. You guys, I am an engineer, but not a civil engineer, and I've been close, but I'm glad I'm on the same level as you. My comments, my concerns were the wall, obviously, and you can see 3 foot is not enough for a small SUV. You guys got that. The lights, I'm not going to waste all your time. But I have one question. I know it's been tossed around early on. Is there any regulations against them building up, like a parking structure, like 2 foot, 3 foot, then that takes the place of the houses they're tearing down, closes off the neighborhood to to Woodward and the garage that's in the alley? I mean, I know it's cost, right, on them,
Costs
but,
would be like that.
but
Small lot to have.
it's just
Yeah.
something for them maybe to consider. Maybe, then they don't have to pursue Oxford or the next street or the next street. So that's all I got. So thank you for covering like all my concerns. So
Right.
thank you.
Anyone else? Nope.
Gabrielle Suida. I'm here with my husband. We live at 1047 Eaton, so we're right across from the proposed lot. I just really want to thank all of you for having clearly listened to everything that we were saying, in all those other meetings, and really, you addressed pretty much everything. The only other thing I'd like to express is, our disappointment in Vincenta's execution on as soon as reasonably possible, which was mentioned in the joint agreement. It does seem like it's been quite a long time. but it seems like you guys have everything in mind that we care about, and thank you for continuing to consider the neighborhood.
Thank you. Anyone else? Okay, Ms. Buckler.
I had a question on the demolition plan. Can we get the engineer back up for a moment, please? So, I'm not sure, I don't have the agreement in front of me. Is Vincetta Garage going to be responsible for demoing all the structures, even on the Lupo property? Are you doing that in one fell swoop, or are you?
That's what the
demoing-
agreement says.
Okay, I wasn't sure, it wasn't in front of me, so I was just asking
That's
to
exactly what
clarify.
it says. I questioned it myself, but
Okay, that's okay.
There
Now,
it is.
The second question is there, in the agreement, and Amy, I don't know if you can, is there a standard that they will leave the Lupo property after demolition, because it's not being turned into a parking lot? Are we talking it's just back to gravel?
Not gravel, there'd have to be ground cover, so
It'll have to be ground
seeds
cover, so
on
it'll
it,
have to be
that sort of
seeded.
thing.
It'll be seeded
Okay,
in mulch.
Fair enough, that's, okay, my question is
Yeah,
answered. Thank you.
Vincetta will be responsible at Vincetta's sole cost for the simultaneous demolition and removal of any existing houses on both the Vincetta and Lugo parcels.
Yeah, I'm sure
So
a lot
that,
of
wait
the
a
public
minute.
may not have
So
seen
that
the
both
demo.
parcels are vacant dirt pads. Aha. Prior to any improvements, we'll seed and mulch.
Okay,
Leave it as dirt.
thank you.
You had a comment?
Yeah, I actually had a question for Commissioner Smith. When you mentioned about parallel parking along Eaton, what are you
Just an
thinking?
idea.
What was your thought?
That was just an idea. That by moving that landscaping forward, we have all kinds of real estate up there. And it's just an out-of-the-box idea. We can add about 6 parallel parking spaces, but that's going to require redoing the curbs and the engineering on the road and everything. It was just an idea.
canopy
It
trees.
was just an out-of-the-box idea, because that's what I do.
When you said it, that's what I was thinking.
No,
too.
no, no,
That's
no,
what
no,
I
no.
was starting.
It was just,
Adding a lot of other.
no, no, no. I'm not saying anybody wants to
throw it
get
out there.
into it.
said I could get 6 more parking spaces.
Yeah.
Mr. Chair,
Mr.
I think it should be noted that Commissioner Smith's comment, the city could also choose to widen the street
Right.
Yeah.
sometime down the road. It's something
Yeah.
that
Well, that-
we shouldn't be asking the applicant to do.
Absolutely, and that's the whole point, is by putting the real estate, the landscape towards
Yes,
the
it
front.
creates a
there's an
really nice opportunity, yes.
And it's just a matter of moving a sidewalk at some point, redoing some curbing. Whether it happens or not, but there could be 6 spaces there
Yep.
on my
Okay,
compass fingers.
that's what I was thinking you meant, so.
All right, I need somebody to make a motion to postpone.
Motion to postpone or table?
Postpone.
Okay, motion to postpone to a date uncertain. Case SP 0217.
Do we need to have can you give us a date that you can come back, or do you want to make it a date? We'll just leave it open.
How far in advance of your meeting do I have to submit?
It'd be a month, I mean, given that Mr. Schuler's got to look at plans and everybody else,
I'm
so.
only talking a similar plan to this without engineering.
Right.
I think Mr.
It's
Schuler
done
with
prior to
engineering.
engineering.
No,
No.
Mr. Schuler's with the city.
Yeah.
Again, I would feel comfortable with a month,
Month.
just given
Okay,
all the other things that are
well,
going on.
let's go for a month, and then if they have to take longer, then,
They have to submit it a month
Yeah.
ahead of
Tomorrow,
time.
then.
Right.
So we'd
how
be
much
going for
time do
the-
you need?
So it would be
to-
May.
The May meeting.
May.
Thank you.
To the,
Let's-
to the May meeting.
Let's take it to the May meeting.
Okay.
Okay. Do we need to put all the conditions of what we've talked about tonight, or are they clear?
No, I wouldn't. I mean, unless you want to list wall, landscaping, moving to the south end. Lighting.
Bike rack.
Bike rack.
Yeah.
Well, this isn't an approval,
No, it's
Mr.
not.
Chairman.
It's
It's just
to
a
make sure
giving
that
them
the-
correction. I think he
Right.
heard it all, and
Okay.
And we've offset a work session for him.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Do you want,
I'll second it.
you're seconding it? Any further discussion on the motion? Yes,
Mr. Chair?
Mr. Dean Smith.
We have talked about offering up a work session. Should that be part of the motion
If they
to postpone, or is it totally separate?
Totally separate.
Totally
Okay.
separate, yep.
They want it, we can have it. Okay.
Yeah, that moves it up 2 weeks.
Okay.
So,
All right. Any discussion on this motion? Hearing none, let's take a roll
I
call.
have a question. So you having drawings in towards the end of April is possible? Okay. Just want to make sure of that.
Okay. All right,
I'm ready to vote.
let's take a vote.
Shadle?
Yes.
Martin Smith?
Yes.
Dean Smith?
Yes.
Stangieri?
Yes.
Buckler?
Yes.
Murad?
Yes.
Pop?
Yes.
Richardson?
Yes.
Burnett?
Yes. Okay. Moving on, I guess we'll take liaison reports next. Environmental, anything?
Nothing from environmental.
Were you doing parks?
Well, I wasn't, but Mr. Chairman, I happened to attend the Parks and Rec meeting on the 9th.
think you were there. Were you there?
I was not the most
Yeah.
recent one, no. Thanks, Marty.
Go ahead, Marty.
I happened to be at the Parks and Rec meeting, and they were looking at their Oxford Park plans. I went there for the Oxford Park plan, just to see what, and they have 3 schemes. They're all very similar to each other. They're nice. It'll be a phased project. I think he said, or I think they said, a 5-year project. They're looking for grants and things like that. Looking at restrooms, which is terribly needed in that area to make the whole, with the 2 ballparks and everything else to make it viable. Walking path, got to improve the drainage. They have some playground equipment and even a splash pad, which I probably won't use much, but, and one of them had a basketball court and a small soccer field, but those were kind of X'd out to make it a more natural area. So, but they're looking at several schemes, and they'll be continuing their discussion, including the funding. That's what they're after now. Like I said, they're going for some grants. They were pleased with the crowd. There are about 20 people there, and from my experience back a few years attending those meetings, one person would be a crowd, so 20 they were very pleased to have there. Another item they mentioned with our repurposing our the ice arena that's had some fatal issues. They've opened it up as a teen center, and maybe they had some programs there before. Like I said, it's been a while, but they said that is going very strong, and they're taking that into account as they proceed to decide what to do with as a advisory board, but what they think they might want to do with that property in the future in their master plan. So, if there's any questions,
I have a question. Did they discuss landscaping and ground cover issues at that meeting? Is it going to be just grass?
No, there's a lot of trees. Okay. I'll just show you one. There's a lot of trees. The darker items are the trees.
All right.
And there's some. One of the schemes has a little pond area and some things. So it's none of these 3 are the set plan. They're going to pick and choose from the different things. But there's a lot of trees involved in all 3 of the schemes, and a lot of access improvement, north to south, east to west. And there's a lot of good ideas here, but it'll be a long time, like everything else, long time coming.
ZBA?
Thank you.
Did not meet.
Chamber did meet, and I did attend the meeting. Right now, they're focused on the Art Bash, which is June 10th. And Dream Cruise, gearing up for that. They at that meeting, they were reviewing all the student designs for T-shirts for the Cruise Fest. And the big news that they have is they're working on something called a Berkley Street Art Fest, or a Street Art Fest, it should be. So it's going to consist of like chalk designs on the sidewalks, but they're also talking about having some artists doing some murals, and I don't know if it's going to involve some ordinance changes or anything that we have to do.
We allow murals, so.
Okay,
Yeah,
all right.
that's why we have a smattering of them.
Yeah, so So I know they've been in communication with you on it, so, but sounds like it could be a very interesting event. And actually, at that meeting, we also met the new DDA director. And it was funny, she was talking about, prior to her first interview, coming to Berkeley and kind of driving it and with her husband, and she said to her husband, "This city is ripe for murals," and didn't even know about this street art festival. So it sounds like it could be an interesting start to something else new for Berkeley. So that's all. Ms. Pop, BVA?
Well, continuing in that theme, the Berkeley Street Art Fest is scheduled for Saturday, July 15th. And the proposal right now is looking at DDA sponsoring 2 murals. And that would leave another 3 or 4 for the participants that want to fund and work with this new fledgling, exciting event. Yes, there's going to be permanent murals that we're talking about, and then temporary art on sidewalks. And it can be families and teams and students and just a whole lot. And there is a website out there now somewhere.
Yep. I forgot to mention
And I spent a good deal of time talking to Vivian Carmody about her plans, and what she's thinking about is design and forward thinking for marketing and the design of Berkeley. And there's a lot of direction. And yet again, my left hand went up and I said, I'll help you. I can't tell you how excited I am about this Art Fest thing. And that it's going to be in conjunction 12 Mile and Coolidge. And that's the most important thing. My shop has been open on Coolidge for 14 years. And that's a long time to hold your breath. So everything that can possibly be done about this is exciting. The meeting at the DDA was primarily budget-driven this time, and the board approved it all. It's going forward. Frank's Landscaping has the contract for this season, and Coolidge is supposed to get some baskets. Yet again. So that's about it. That's really the most. I think that they made a super decision in the executive director for this, and it's just an exciting situation we're in right now.
Thank you. I attended the council meeting on March the 20th and met regarding all of the stuff with the Oxford Park. The city council approved the Parks and Rec Department to apply for the 2017 Michigan Natural Resources Trust Fund grant. And we'll see how we get qualified for it, and if we get anything out of that, be interesting. And they'll be used at Oxford Merchants. The other thing that, just so you know, the vector sewer machine you see going up and down the streets of Berkeley that cleans the sewers and blows leaves and picks up leaves. We're going to buy a new one of those. We're getting a brand new one of those, and they're selling the other one. I guess it goes as a trade-in. And then the biggest thing at that meeting was the expenditure of a large chunk of money to do the road improvements of Harvard, which they will begin as soon as they get all the ducks in order and everything. So those of you, if anybody lives on Harvard, it's going to get
Only a
interesting.
it's only a portion of Harvard.
Harvard. Yeah, it's the first 2 blocks west of Woodward Avenue. So that's coming up pretty quickly, and that's a big chunk of money that the city has spent on this project. So we're looking forward to that. And then we're talking about Berkeley Days, which is coming up, and they're talking about adding an extra day to Berkeley Days, so we'll have to wait and see whether that actually happens or not. So that's the essence of what transpired at the city council meeting.
An extra rainy day.
Yeah, an extra rainy day. I'm not going to go there. I won't go there. I'll stay clear of that one. So I guess we'll go around for commissioner staff comments. Mr. Dean Smith, anything tonight?
Sure. Thank you for not giving me the last word tonight. I'm glad to see tonight that we were able to help an applicant keep an old house in Berkeley.
Yeah.
It's a building I've gone by for probably 50 years now. And I'm glad it's going to stay for a while. Really happy to see Union Joints moving forward on their parking project. That's a long-term thing that it needs to get done, and it's nice to see some progress. And looking forward, everything's good.
Everything's good. Okay. Mr. Tangari.
I just enjoyed Amy's article for Michigan Planner, which was in our packets about planning and talking to kids. I read Virginia Lee Burton stuff to my kid all the time, so it kind of hit home for me.
Ms. Buckle.
I'm glad my chair was still here. I apologize for the last couple of absences. They couldn't be helped. But Thursday night, ladies, come out and support the businesses of Berkeley for Ladies' Night Out. If you haven't been to one, they're fantastic. And I think we have more businesses than ever that are participating, and it is really a fun time to meet your neighbors and support your local businesses and maybe have a little sip while you shop and find some bargains along the way.
Just appreciate everyone attending again. Thank you.
Thanks for covering that for me. That was the one item I missed that the chamber sponsors. So other than that, I'm good.
I just have a comment. I had an appointment with my cardiologist yesterday, and instead of talking to me, he was talking about the young man that suddenly died this month at Berkeley High School, Dominic. And you'll notice that there's trees that have turquoise ribbons all over the place. Dr. Dinesh Shah is the founder of Michigan Physician Group on 12 Mile. And he has been a part of the community in Berkeley for a number of years. And he was going, Dottie, how come you didn't tell me you were on this committee and this commission? I want to give back to my city. And he is in the position to do a number of things, one of which is scanning for our teens. So sudden cardiac death is something that we all know and understand what it is and what to do. And that includes everyone needing to know CPR and to have defibrillators handy. That's the respiratory therapist of me, talking. Anyway, more to come about that. I think it's going to be interesting, and he's got all kinds of ideas, and he is a dynamo.
Mr. Richardson.
I'd like to just mention briefly that there is a group meeting to study conditions on Coolidge Highway. Group convened by the city. I'm a member of that group, and absolutely nothing has been decided or recommended by that group, but I just wanted to mention some of the issues that the group is covering, in the process of covering. We're talking about things like speed limits on Berkeley. We're talking about things like additional pedestrian crosswalks on Berkeley.
Coolidge.
I'm sorry, Coolidge, excuse me. We're talking about things like finding increased parking opportunities along the Coolidge corridor. We're talking about measures that would make Coolidge more pedestrian-friendly, more business-friendly, and more of a memorable experience for people that drive along Coolidge. Right now, Coolidge is a transit road. It goes through town, and lots of traffic on Coolidge doesn't stop in Berkeley. We'd like to see that picture change. We'd like to see Coolidge be more of a local thoroughfare than it is. So, as I say, nothing has been decided upon or recommended. We're in the process of studying different aspects of the problem, and I just think the citizens should be aware that we're attempting to address this, and stay tuned. And we welcome any input.
Mr. Martin Smith?
I'd like to reiterate the first issue that we saved. Well, not that it was under pending destruction, but we saved an old house in Berkeley that reused again. Spot zoning used to be such a nasty word, but it seems like everything we do. Spot zoning. And it's not spot zoning anymore, but, you know, in what I do for a living and whatever, we see all the time. Everybody's boom, 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 PUDs, boom, you know, carving up. But it's not necessarily a bad thing when done right. So I'm glad, and I think what Mr. Dean Smith said, let's revisit that ordinance. I remember talking about it. I don't remember why we said no. Maybe we just felt we had enough going on there at the time. But and it's also, on the opposite hand, good to see some progress hopefully being made on the Eaton parking lot. So good to see both those things going.
Ms. Vanson?
Nothing tonight.
Nothing tonight. I had the opportunity on March the 15th to attend the Michigan chapter of the American Planning Association's workshop for site plan review. And I'm going to have some more to say about this in the next meeting. I may put some notes together, but I was sort of following what we were doing tonight when we were reviewing the site plan. And it was a very interesting workshop. I learned a few things that I didn't know, and it's always good to see things. But for the most part, you know, we follow most of the way we should do it, and everybody thinks. They do have a publication out. It's called Site Plan Review. I don't know whether you have a copy of it, Amy. Do you have a copy of it? And they gave everyone a copy of that. I haven't quite finished reading it all. There's a lot in it, and referring back and forth to the laws and rules of the state of Michigan and federal law and what have you. So it was a very interesting evening. I will have some more to say about it in coming meetings. I'll put some notes together and distribute them at that time. I thought we did a good job tonight. I was a little bit concerned about this site plan, and I'm concerned about the relationship of that site to the neighborhoods. And as we go forward here in Berkeley in planning, and I think we're going to see more of this issue where we're creeping into the neighborhoods, and we may need to look at this parking ordinance closely, especially at the neighborhood level. And we may need to make some changes and make some additions to that ordinance. But just because we've got here, and if things all of a sudden clicked on 12 Mile, we may suddenly be going in that direction.
In Coolidge.
In Coolidge. And we got Woodward and so even 11 miles. So there's things I think we need to go back and re-examine that piece. And we may need to make some changes to it. I was happy that they were willing to compromise tonight. It really amazed me because I thought they might pretty well dig in their heels, so I was very glad to see what happened tonight. And other than that, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Murad.
Second.
Seconded by Mr. Tringari. All those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The meeting is adjourned. I have to sign something.